evening, Rabotai. Last time we were speaking about the laws of not eating meat with fish. Now today we'll speak about eating fish with dairy. The Torah writes in Rabbi Zino that there's no problem of eating meat and milk when it comes to fish and grasshoppers. It means that if a person wants to eat fish and dairy, it's not considered that fish is meat, and therefore there's no problem basar b'halav. You're allowed to eat fish and dairy, or you're allowed to eat dairy with grasshoppers. Grasshoppers are considered parv, the kosher ones. We don't have a tradition which one's the kosher ones. The Yemenites have a tradition; they still eat it today, but it's kashakon nidvaro, and it's considered parv, and therefore you're allowed to eat it with dairy, says the Torah. However, the Bet Yosef over there in Siman Pei Zayin says you should know that's from the laws of meat and milk. But from the laws of sakana, from the laws of danger to your health, it's dangerous to eat fish and dairy. Just like we see in Siman Kufay and Gima. So the Shach, the Prisha, the Taz, many of the Achronim, they argue on the Bet Yosef and they say, what do you mean Kufay and Gima? If you open chapter 173, what do you see over there? The laws of not eating fish and meat. So they say, why is the Bet Yosef saying you can't eat fish and dairy? And it's quoting the laws of fish and meat. There's nothing to do with one another. So therefore they say that Bet Yosef made a mistake, and al-halacha, the Ashkenazim, many of them follow, you're allowed to eat fish and dairy. Famous cream cheese and lax, that's what they eat. However, the Marabach, Rabbi Levi ibn Haviv, he quotes the Knesset Gdolah of Ben Avisti alav shalom, and he explains that the Bet Yosef was not saying that's the source, that it's a sur. He's saying just like we see by meat and fish, there's an issue of sakana, of the pest, of tzarat, so too it applies by fish and dairy. He was borrowing the idea of sakana from there. He's not saying that's the source, therefore it's not a mistake. And the halacha for Sfaradim, we have a custom today of not eating fish and dairy because it could lead to the same problem that we have by fish and meat, which is danger, physical danger to all of us. So therefore, that's what the Sfaradim in Hag today is. A lot of the Sfaradim do not eat fish and dairy. They do not eat the cream cheese and the lax. Now, but the Ashkenazim, because they hold that the Bet Yosef made a mistake, and they say that it's not true, so therefore they eat the fish and dairy. However, the person has to know, how could it be that for them it's sakana, for us it's not sakana? The Kaf Chaim explains that we grew up in different regions. Originally, we have different ancestors. There's some people who come from Ashkenazim, they have predisposition to certain illnesses, certain sicknesses. And Sfaradim have disposition to different illnesses, different sicknesses. And that's all based on our genes from where we grew up. So therefore it could be that Ashkenazim, in the regions they live, it wasn't a problem to eat fish and dairy, but for the Sfaradim it was. And it's now that we live in America, we're all mixed. It's interesting, you see one guy eating it and one guy not eating it, but because of our diets and originally where we were from, that's why it became the minhag this way. However, the Poskim write that this is by fish and dairy, fish and cheese. Nobody writes in Chavedat Chelek Vav that some have a minhag to eat fish and butter. Why? Because butter was processed milk. It went through a lot of processing, and therefore there's no more sakana by the butter with the fish. So therefore, if you have a restaurant that fries its fish, the whole fish, in butter, it makes it very tasty. Even according to Sfaradim, many Sfaradim, they permitted, it says technically of what to rely, it's permitted to have fish and butter, even if you don't eat fish and dairy. So therefore, these are one of the things that a person has to watch out for and pay attention to. There was a story in the Gemara about Batra, Daf Nun Chet, about a rabbi named Rabbi Bana. He used to use very interesting ways to find out solutions to problems about people would had with money. So there was a story of a man who passed by his house, and he heard that his wife was telling his daughter, "Why are you not so quiet about the averot you do, the immorality you do?" She was doing inappropriate things, and her mother was telling her, "You have to be like me. Look at me, I have 10 sons from your father, but really 9 of them are not from him. And nobody knows. You have to be like me." So the father heard this, and he said, "Oh my goodness." And before he passed away, he had a lot of money. He told his sons, "All my money only goes to one. I only have one real son." And then he passed away. They went to Rabbi Bana, and they asked Rabbi Bana, "What do we do? Our father said in front of us, all the money goes to one son. Who's the real son?" So the Rabbi Bana said, "All of you have to go and take a stick and go to the father's grave and hit his grave. And say, 'Father, tell us, Father, tell us, Father, tell us.' And then, eventually, if you have zechut, he's going to tell you which one's the right son, and you're going to know who to give the money to." So all the sons right away, they ran, they took sticks, they started smacking the father's grave, and then only one son didn't. In the end, they came back and he said, did you smack? Yes. Did you smack the grave? Yes. Did you hit the grave? Did you smack the grave? He says, no, I didn't smack the grave. He says, why? He says, how? I'm a son. How can a son come to a father and hit his grave? It's not worth any money in the world to go and smack my father's grave. It's my father's kavod. What is this for? Busha b'cherpa. He says, you see how he spoke? I know he's the real son. All of you, you have chutzpah. You can smack the father's grave. That means you're not the real son. So therefore, he was able to find out. But the lesson we learn from here is, if you're willing to smack your father, that means you're not acting like a real son. A real son will never make his father upset and smack his father. That applies today to our sons, to the fathers, and how much more so applies Avinu Shabbat Shamayim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.